If you're listening on podcast, be sure to tune in to our YouTube channel on YouTube at Wild and Weird WV.
Welcome to Wild and Weird Radio, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast.
Can numbers truly reveal someone's destiny? Do random strings of numbers hold some significance? Is some force in the universe or deep within ourselves trying to send a message? Believers in numerology think so, and they refer back to the ancient past where Pythagoras is alleged to have come up with the basics of what is today's modern numerology. Interesting enough, there seems to be some proof of an underlying mathematical foundation to the universe. Join us as we look at numerology, synchronicities, and angel numbers on this episode of Wild and Weird Radio.
Welcome back to Wild and Weird Radio, everybody. Hope you have all had a great week. Thanks for joining us once again. Remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe and like button. It helps us out greatly. And if you're listening on Apple iTunes, go ahead and give us one of those, 5-star review things. Those are great. We love getting those. And occasionally we actually will read them out over the radio. So if you want your review read, as scathing as it might be, go ahead and let it rip, guys. Yeah. Just leave 5 stars. That's a stipulation.
Yeah, you can just leave that 5 stars. You can say whatever you want after that 5 stars,
exactly.
Right? I don't
Absolutely.
care. And we'll still read it. Don't care. Doesn't matter. What has been going on, guys? What's the news on your end? I know we need some people. We're really moving up on our subscriptions over there, by the way.
We are. YouTube is growing. YouTube is growing. The audio is always, as usual, doing great.
Oh, yeah, audio is doing great.
We've got new people that are constantly joining in. Thank you guys, every one of y'all. Yep. As far as news, on my end, personally, I just wish that I didn't have to work so daggone much in the evenings.
Yeah, that happens sometimes, right? Not much going on over here. Just working on stuff for the road. So we have some stuff as we're out there, and got some upgrades on the radio. You got to see that. So
I was really impressed. It's turning out fantastic.
We get to take her out on the road and let everybody see her.
We sat and brainstormed this thing a little over a year ago, and we got all the parts for it. And Ron has killed it putting this thing together.
It's pretty cool. It's the radio, man. What else do we have? Oh, yeah. And definitely, we're moving up almost on our monetization mark over on YouTube, which is awesome. And if we can get you listeners to go over there and hit our channel and listen to a few things, that would be great. Maybe we can afford to get a new camera for Joe.
Yeah, if you notice, my camera actually looks really, really, really good right now, and it's because I'm streaming using my phone.
Gosh, it's always something, man.
It's always something. It took us 45 minutes trying to troubleshoot. Man.
Yeah, well, like I said, show goes on. So
yep, here I am, a floating head.
So yeah, you want to help? Then go over there, and it's free.
It's free for you guys.
Free for you guys. Just go and play some of the videos on our channel, and
go like them.
Yeah,
if you're watching one of them, just click the like button. It's something easy and free that you guys can do. It helps us out tremendously.
Yep. And comment too. We have some good comments over there, and we do answer. We try to answer every one of our comments, by the way, guys. Just to let you know.
And it's actually us that answers.
Yeah, it's not a robot.
One like per day.
It's not AI.
2 can sponsor a paranormal researcher.
Don't do that. Hey, well, anyway, I think it's probably time for the news, and with that, let's do that. It's exciting news week, right?
Yeah. Got my official Bigfoot Canal State Forest mug here.
See that?
Oh.
That's
Yeah.
nice. That's nice.
Is that official?
That's official, baby.
No,
Wow.
that's nice.
Huh.
Look at that.
Yep, they got those. You can go to Canola State Forest and get your own. That's the first thing for the news desk. You guys that listen to us on your morning commutes, go get yourself a good cup of coffee. Actually using the Coffee and Cryptids coffee right now, which is one of the unofficial coffee of Wild and Weird Radio.
Yeah.
So guys, what do we got on the news desk? Because I know that after the live, we actually there were some reports that came out. We've got some Skynet style news that came out.
Oh my goodness, don't we though?
Right?
Yeah, we've got some Skynet style news that came out. All right. Apparently on March 30th, a Twitter user posted a video which is reported to show the first AI directed and shot and executed short film. Although it came into question by one Reddit user who said that it was not completely done by AI. But here's what was done by AI that we know: the plot, the sound effects and music, and I believe there was one other key component to it as well. But they said the visuals were not done by AI. I don't know if they were. I don't know if they were not. I know that that's the goal, and it doesn't really matter to me because it was the storyboard. That's right. The AI created the storyboard. Yeah. So if the AI created the entire storyboard based upon a prompt, and the prompt was just to make a movie, a short film about an alien invasion and how I think it would people would react. That's what it was told to do, and that's what it did. Regardless whether someone provided the stock footage for it is completely irrelevant. The point is that it made a complete storyboard. It scripted it. That's going to be a big issue. And what's really great to me, is, we called this almost 2 years now.
2 years. Yeah. As soon as the AI apps started becoming readily available.
Yeah. And those Picasso-ish looking renditions of stuff started to eventually evolve. And now you have these pseudo artists who are like to go out there and call themselves artists, having things created on prompts and selling works that can't be copyrighted. It makes a lot of sense to me. But here's what really is great about it. We know that some publishing companies are just flat out, no, we're not going to deal with any AI generated art, right? Well, others are still kind of iffy and sketchy and saying, well, it's just a tool. Well, it's not just a tool. But what's really great about this is now we have the potential to pull Hollywood into this battle. Because once directors see pieces of their film being used, snippets of,
you're going to get nuclear.
It is. I mean, can you imagine if freaking Disney, sees a TIE fighter or, it decides to use, I don't know, anything that's popular, Mandalorian, as a...
The last person you want on your case is the big bad mouse.
That's what I'm saying. And when the big bad mouse gets on the case, it's going to change things. I think we're going to see some definite hearings and whatnot on this in the very near future. And I'm very excited to see the rise of humanity against these machines before they get to the point to where we can't stop it. We're going to have a special about that coming up. At some point, probably within the next month or so, something like that. So keep watching out for that. It's the coming AI wars, and it'll be interesting. We're going to try to look at all of it.
Speaking of what you're saying, the AI wars, specifically, how long until these AI companies start realizing that they're ripping each other off?
Yeah, right.
And then start going after one another.
That's what we're going to be talking about.
It's going to turn into AI Thunderdome.
Yeah, man, we're gonna be talking about that. You do know that Adobe is working with AI now. They have their own AI engine, but Adobe is setting a precedent as well. I don't know if you knew that. They are not allowing their AI engine to scour the web for images. They are creating a stock image repository from content creators like you, me, or anyone else who wishes to upload original material that the AI can be trained upon from those people, and they're going to compensate those people who give them that material.
That is setting a precedent for sure.
It sure is. And that's almost like along the lines of some of the content providers of the 3D world. Whereas in the Blender world, we have these incredible content creators that upload models for anyone to use. And as long as you're paying for the service, a small percentage goes back to those content creators. And, everyone gets a little cut out of it rather than just these big companies who are just making bank, stuff. So
I saw an article today that 100 tech leaders are getting together calling for a 6-month halt on AI development.
They need to, because it's we've already said it. It's going to grow. It's not one of those things that's going to grow, it's going to be a month or 2 months before it does something that's, it just made a film. And we just had the release of the latest edition of the GPT platform, about 2 weeks ago, something?
Yeah.
And we're already seeing this. Now, is that related? I don't know. I have not dived farther enough into it at this point, but we will for the special. And like I said, it's going to be heating up. You're going to see a lot more AI stuff coming up. And more so, importantly, on top of that, I've noticed the AI Middleton nonsense has been going around again. There's a nice little article about that I put up on our page not too long ago. And since then, they've actually found the guy who is responsible for it. And he honestly said he didn't mean to do that as any kind of hoax, by the way. It was just an art program or a project that he was working on. And, the rest of social media took it up and does what it does best.
Well, I mean, how many times has that happened in the past?
Exactly.
There was one of the ones that I've been seeing recently come back into light is that massive... it's being passed around as one of the giants of Lovelock Cave skulls.
I remember this.
And it was a VFX project. Yeah. They were making these monstrosities of skulls, and the people were skull. It was a beautiful sculpt, very well made. But you can tell it's a sculpt because when you look at it from a side profile, there are no holes. It's solid. Where the jaws join, it's just solid. Like there's no gap with the jaw and the teeth. They all interlock. It's all just one big piece. And everybody, of course, shares the angled shot where it's perfect. It looks like all the shadows cast where the holes would be, and it's passed off as a giant's head or a Bigfoot's head. And the sad thing is it's being passed around by some fairly notable people in the UFO camp.
Yeah, this happens. I mean,
that's the bad part. They're being passed around as authentic, and they're putting it side by side with things like the Pythagoras skulls, which are authentic.
Some are, yeah.
So,
well, we all are. It's just a degree of what
was it man-made or not? Yeah,
right. Was it
artificial binding, or was this just the way their head was?
Yeah, right. And there's two separate things.
They're putting it side by side with cinema.
I understand what you're saying, and it's the art of confusion.
Yep.
So, yeah. What else we got, Brandon, in the news? Anything exciting besides, Skynet?
Well, during a news conference, the spokesman for the Pentagon says that they are refusing to release any footage or even images of the UFOs that they shot down.
I would refuse to probably do that too at this point, because A, you either got something that you're going to be completely embarrassed over, or B, you've got something that's a smoking gun and it's going to end all questions at that point. And you're going to lose a lot of funding because there's a lot of UFO money going on right now, a lot of UAP money, I hear.
Yeah, you gotta ask yourself the question though: why withhold? Like back in the 9/11 days, you remember anything that was found, anything discovered was immediately plastered all over the media. Any kind of thing that we took out that was like a big stronghold or a bunker or
because it's not the enemy. It's not our enemy. It's not our enemy. Right. In other words, it's not the big guys. It's not China. It's not Russia. It's not anyone that we know, North Korea, anyone that we could consider our enemies. I don't consider them our enemies, by the way. That's just what the United States calls them. I call them humans. and everyone has a bad leader. It's just how it is. Doesn't mean everyone is guilty of it. We just have to live with those. Exactly. We just have to live with that. But what I'm saying is it's not an adversarial, earthly adversarial. Well, I can't say earthly either, can I? It's not an adversary that we know of. There. Look, I'm starting to sound like the government now. Because I believe that's exactly what they said.
Where's your hat, Rohan? Where's your hat?
They said? That's what they said before, I believe. And
it is. You are. That is verbatim what they said.
Yeah, it's not a known adversary. Well, if it's not a known adversary, then what is it? So that's where we're at. Any more news on the mothership, Brandon? We've been good on that this week. It's all quiet, right?
I don't think I've seen anything new.
Okay, cool. I did notice that there was a report of which I thought was really fascinating was the magnetic anomaly that is is showing up there quite a bit again, and I was not aware of the fact that how much the poles have already moved.
Yeah.
Did you notice that in that graphic? That is amazing to me.
It is. It happens.
45 kilometers a year. Yeah, exactly. And when you track it, it's like you can actually see it. Yeah, it's
impressive.
Not subtle. Yeah, it's not subtle. I always thought that it was more subtle than what it is. But
I mean, one of the things. I think the only reason because up until I think it was my junior or senior year in college, I was always thinking it was way more subtle. But I had a geology professor who was teaching, and he was explaining how climate change was going to accelerate at a rapid pace because of the shift of the axis, and that it's not as subtle as we think, that it can go through spells where it will accelerate and advance in ways that just a subtle shift can cause jet streams to have to reroute.
Yeah.
I mean, think about like how much snow we used to get in the 90s compared to now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And the northern lights were visible all the way into North Carolina this week.
Well, that's because there's a massive hole in the sun that's going to apparently explode. And no, I'm not going to play the TikTok game with you guys. What's happening out there basically is that it's like a giant magnetic anomaly on the sun, actually.
On the sun.
Is what it is. And,
or Project Bluebeam, and they're trying to
don't you do it. Don't you do it.
That hole in the sun is where the mothership is going to come from.
No,
the TR3Bs are on their way. I'm having fun with this camera and it just looking like I have a floating head.
Yeah, you look like a floating head. That's right. Yeah. Terrifying. But so big solar winds are due to hit the Earth, I believe, on Friday. I don't know that we were clouded over here. So
we were too clouded.
I don't know.
Everybody south of us that had beautiful skies was able to
I don't know what it looked like this time. I know the last time it was very amazing and impressive.
Oh, the videos that I saw out of the mountains up around Mount Airy was just gorgeous.
Yeah. So we're getting these bombardments of basically radiation, which is interesting.
Weird just happened. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have this lamp that's like touch sensitive, like you can tap it and turn it off and on and stuff. It just turned off by itself.
That's fun.
It's never done that before.
It's happening. Anyway, so in other news, I hear there's a dinosaur that was running loose and it dropped its foot somehow. Is that am I right? Is that how?
Yeah. It's totally a raptor foot.
It's a raptor foot.
I should call it Eileen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a jacked up chicken foot if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got from it. But a British woman, she had sparked fears of dinosaurs. Yep, you heard me right. Dinosaurs running around in the UK after she made an unusual discovery in her front garden. Her exact words was that it can't even read this because it's just the problem with humanity. It was a velociraptor.
Yeah, and anybody who's ever kept chickens, if you look at this foot,
It's chicken.
it's a chicken foot.
That's chicken foot.
And it's got a chicken have spurs.
Chicken foot. It's
That's
probably
their defense against us and all their predators, is they'll try to spur you. They'll try to jump up and kick at you. And they did inherit that directly from velociraptors once upon a time.
So in a way, she's right.
Kinda, but this unfortunately is not a case of Chickensaurus Rex running around.
No, it's not Chickensaurus Rex
in the UK.
So,
this is just your stereotypical yard bird that seems to have met an unfortunate end.
Yep. And that's all the news we got from you this week, Governor, and we are out of here. And we just lost every viewer in the UK. All right. So let's see. We have an interesting show. And I just looked at the clock. I swear to God, it says 10:10 right now.
Oh my goodness.
Does it not say 10:10? Am I not?
Yep.
It does say 10:10.
Okay. Oh, that's just crazy. Because if you count my hands, look at this. Look at my fingers.
10 fingers.
Holy crap.
Oh my God.
And it's 10:10.
We pulled out all the stops for this episode, and we have a special guest coming all the way from Sesame Street. We have the count coming in for this episode on numerology.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. But you got to admit, that was weird.
No, yeah, that's funny. That's a synchronicity.
And that's how it works. That's how it works. That was not planned at all.
Let's go film a reality show.
I think we just did.
Oh man. So if you guys haven't figured it out yet, this week's episode is on numerology, angel numbers, and synchronicities. And 1010 just took out Ron.
Now we see why that was significant.
We do.
Guess we're going to get other dimension Ron now.
Yeah, we should. We'll know if it's Ron Lanham or Ron Lamb that comes back. There he is.
So you saw that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. More weird stuff.
So we're tackling the topic of numerology, angel numbers, and synchronicity today. It's this is a really, really interesting show. There's been literally eons of recorded history where this has been a thing. Yeah. But synchronicities are more of a modern term, but we're going to get into that later. Mm-hmm. So, Ron, why don't you give us a little rundown here on some numerology and what our listeners can expect?
I think we just did that. That was pretty much.
Yeah.
10:10. That was totally the briefing. No. Well, we're going to be talking a little bit about numerology, which means we're going to be going into a little bit of everything, because what it comes down to is basically this belief that numbers, mathematics, geometry, all these things kind of are this message from the universe, from God, from even us, maybe in the future, who knows? But the thing is, humans, they need to think that everything has a pattern, and maybe it does, honestly, because who can say? I mean, we just literally proved it does happen. So is that just our minds that latch on to, the oddness of it and kind of ascribe these special meanings to it? Or does it mean that whenever we see these recurring numbers, that they're actually something? Well, like you said, it's not a modern thing. This has been going on forever, pretty much.
Right.
And, this goes back thousands and thousands of years. People became kind of obsessed with the idea. Numbers held this fascination. So
part of it also has to go back to where Arabic numbers didn't always exist. So language and numerological values coincided.
Yeah.
For generations.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had these languages where words would represent certain numbers.
Yeah.
And then the significance just began to grow from there.
Yeah, it's a symbolic kind of thing, isn't it?
Yep.
And it can trace its roots back into Babylonia, Egypt. There's so many of these ancient, just you name it. The Chaldean system of numerology was derived and practiced. There's also corroboration to show that the different forms of numerology were practiced in China, Rome. I mean, it's all over the world. This isn't just one or two little sects of people that were in like Grecian times, so to speak, because a lot of people think that that's where it started. It didn't. It started way before that. And the numeral repetition synchronicity have been observed for thousands of years, and the Chaldean numerology is based on ancient Babylonian practices and the Kabbalistic study of Jewish mysticism. Now, we've heard this before because we know that, there's something there, So these people were not just making this stuff up. They explored the recurring digits within the Old Testament. And in fact, many occultists actually believe that the appearance of 1111, for example, is connected to the Tetragrammaton, the unpronounceable four-letter name of the God of Israel. So, like I said, they were looking for these signs and symbols forever. I think it's kind of interesting that it was okay for certain religious sects to do this, while others it was deemed as something to be burned at a stake for. I'm just saying, I got to throw that out there. It's true. But
Pythagoras.
How we get numerology that we know of today is, and you guys have heard that name before, right?
Oh, yeah, the Pythagorean theorem.
The Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah, Pythagoras, the giver of algebra, the bane of every high schooler's existence.
Yeah, they taught me that instead of how to do taxes.
Right? Because that was more valuable.
Well, you have to remember, that's the kind of stuff that put us, into the knowledge base that we are today as humans, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly. And there are those who believe that, this is part of the knowledge that was transferred down from a higher source, either good or bad. Take your choice. I don't really care. But, this is kind of indicative of that part of the knowledge that was lost and reclaimed, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So Pythagoras believed that our reality, it was just a physical manifestation of the energetic vibrations of numbers. I mean, where did he come up with that at? Let's think about that. Where did any of them come up with this at? It's almost like there was definitely something going on at one point, and maybe they just interpreted it more, with this mystical quality or whatever. But it's still interesting to me because we're talking about 570 to 495 BC when this guy, came up with his little theory of numerology, or what would become numerology. And there are some who say that he didn't come up with this, by the way, that he just kind of set the stage.
Popularized because of his notoriety that already existed.
Yeah, exactly. But he traveled to Croton in southern Italy, where he founded a school. We know that, which initiates were sworn to secrecy and lived a communal lifestyle. Now, it's interesting because they almost lived like a monk-like lifestyle, didn't they? Yeah. They abstained from everything to reach these spiritual goals. These philosophers of the time, I tell you, man, they were almost like cult leaders.
They very much were, and they actually warred with one another from time to time.
Yep. Well, that's almost like, people today.
Right.
They've got this one group's got its theories about Bigfoot. This one's got its theories about Bigfoot, and they all can't meet in the middle and talk about it.
It's even like that with politics nowadays.
It's the same thing, man. So, yeah, it's just a modern day form of philosophy, basically, is what it comes down to. But we can, like I said, it's fascinating to me because these people, call them what you will, but their theories, their ideas affected the knowledge base of humanity in the future as we know it. So I found it interesting. But the teachings most securely identified Pythagoras is, what is it? Metempsychosis or transmigration of souls. And we just talked about this, literally just talked about this last week, which is basically reincarnation. So he had believed that there was an energy form, that there was a transmigration of souls. I mean, he was very into what would later become a cult theory, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what I'm hearing.
Ultimately, it's what it derives back to, because he came up with the it was the thought that isolation and meditation and the focusing on change could cause it to happen.
Every soul is immortal, according to him, and it's basically just recycled. He has also devised the doctrine of musica universalis, which is the music of the spheres. Now that is interesting. We could do a whole show on music of the spheres alone. I suggest people who are interested just go ahead and look that up, because that's deep stuff when you get down into that. But this just shows what this guy was capable of thinking about. I mean, he was thinking outside the box, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And he was the first to really come up with the spherical positioning of the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Using this music of the spheres, and also mapping out the other planets and their rotations.
Yeah. I mean, he actually figured out that the Earth was round before a lot of other people. He was deeply involved with early forms of astronomy and early astronomical knowledge he had come across. The music of the spheres is interesting because basically states that each planet was vibrating at its own different frequency, and you could actually somehow hear that or tap into it. It's the whole frequency thing that you hear, people talk about with metaphysics today. This is the base of where all this came from.
So let's get into a little bit of Pythagorean numerology.
Yep.
This is also known as modern day numerology, and it starts with 6 primary numbers. 3 of these numbers are derived from the native's birth date, and their other 3 comes from their name. These 6 numbers ideally give clear insight into who they are and how they can improvise their lives. So this theory is taken that you can essentially use numbers to predict your life. This is a lot like horoscopes, early
astrology.
Modified horoscopes.
It's astrology. It goes hand in hand with astrology, is basically what it does. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible if you really look at it and kind of figure out what these guys were trying to figure, to do. It's just another form of, trying to find this secret code that, was put in there. And I think that that's what it kind of comes down to. It's like, you're looking for this path or a confirmation of a path, something like that, to show that you're kind of in the right area, I suppose, is what it looks like your life path number, things like that. It's fascinating how they came up with that. I mean, it's the sheer play of numbers. I mean, he had to be absolutely obsessed with numbers.
And yeah, right. Yes. He very much was obsessed with numbers. This guy lived, eat, sleep, breathe numbers nonstop. And when it comes to the life path numbers, they're really interesting because, again, this was something that was done almost at birth because they would be able to predict what kind of kid they were going to have using these life path numbers. They could at least use it as some kind of a chart to try to understand how this new person was going to behave.
Yeah, well, how it was going to change reality, so to speak, right? I mean, that's kind of what it's like.
The main point was it to help in revealing how a person's life will be in the future.
Yeah, exactly. But it goes into some pretty in-depth stuff. I mean, the life path is easy. That's just your month plus the day plus the year, and you basically degrade the numbers down until they're simplified. it gives you a basic number. Once it gives you your root number, the root number is said to correspond to something, right? And that's what you look up, is whatever that one digit that it comes out to be. Or it could come out to be 2 digits. If it does, then that's special too. Because those are like some kind of master numbers or something to that nature, which is just the rules to it are fantastic. Like, for him to come up with it, that's interesting to me. It's almost like he didn't come up with it. It's like, again, it was like it's something that was either passed down or remembered or, something to that nature, which is very possible.
So he Thomas Edison it really.
That was funny. Yeah, kind of probably. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah. But your life path numbers were basically purported to reveal your insight about your innate capabilities and your weaknesses. So, you could use this to basically figure out, and people do it today. I mean, this is a metaphysical thing today. They still do.
Run our numbers and see what they say.
Well, all you do is take your birthday. Well, what's your birthday?
January 19th, 1990.
Okay, so that's 1, 19, and 1990. So, okay, so the 1 stays 1. So you put that out to the side, right? And you said it was 19?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's 9, 10, right? So those goes together to 10. So that's 1. Again, I think that's right. I can't do it. I would have to actually write it down because I can't think.
There's actually a calculator that I just used to do it quickly. And mine is apparently 22/4.
What?
Yep. And this is using Pythagorean system. Like you put it in and it gives you the numbers. And it breaks it all down. And I see how it did it. And my life path numbers break down to 8 + 9 + 5. And it turns out being 22/4.
Well, Joe, you're extra dimensional.
I know.
What do you mean 22/4?
That's why I'm a floating head.
Okay. I don't know.
What it's showing me.
That's
it says my life path number is about putting all the pieces together.
Mm.
It is a builder number. Those with life path number 4 tend to be good organizers, practical, diligent, persistent with their approach to dealing with day-to-day activities. You're a realist and you're down-to-earth nature. Decisive actions and perseverance all make you that much more likely to succeed where others may fail. Be wary of being too stubborn, rigid, and even becoming a workaholic. I am all of 3 of those things.
Yeah.
The double-digit number is a higher vibration from which your life path number 4 is derived from and is referred to as a master number.
That's the master number.
Those with master number of 22 have the potential to perceive and execute great ideas and achieve great things in life. As such, this number is often referred to as a 1 of a master builder.
Mm-hmm.
Master numbers are discussed in much greater detail within the full numerology reading. Then it gives you a thing to click that goes.
Yeah. I'm a 4 also.
Number for 22.
Yeah, I'm a 4 as well, but not a master number. So that's very interesting. Yeah, how did they come up with that stuff? Is what I'm getting. I mean, we can reduce our numbers down. That's nothing. But how do you come up with that kind of stuff? And then there's more, right? I mean, it's not just your life path number. There's way more. There's first impression number, inner soul number, character number, expression number. Like there's all these different.
What was yours, Brandon?
Oh, I'm still trying to figure it out.
No. What? Give me the dates. I'm putting in a calculator. You are a 3. Your life path number is a vibration of independence, one of creative self-expression and communication. With those with life path number 3, tend to be charismatic, charming, and witty. Aww. You're more expressive, upbeat, and creative, and as such are more likely to be drawn to pursuits that will act as an outlet for your artistic talents. Be wary of losing concentration and not committing to your projects, as well as becoming disorganized with your responsibilities and money and chickens.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Especially
that last part I added myself.
Yeah, chicken part. My chicken part's accurate.
And then Ron, okay, you're a 13/4. Your life path number is about putting the pieces together. It's a builder number. Those with life path number 14 tend to be good organizers, practical, diligent, persistent. We said all that earlier.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Be wary of being a workaholic, stubborn and rigid.
Blah, blah, blah.
And then It doesn't say anything about the 13.
Well, that's okay. So what it does is it breaks down to that central number, and then you take that number and go down. You can't go down on yours because yours is a 2 and a 2.
Gotcha.
So, so it's a master number. So they don't reduce. You don't reduce the master number. So you don't go to 4, but it is a 4. You see what I mean?
Right.
So that's why it says 22 4 with you. Mine's just 13, which reduces down to 3 plus 1, 4.
4.
So it's 4. And then Brandon's a 3. Now, if anyone knows what that means, that's wonderful. We don't. We're just
and by our powers combined,
we're 4, 4, and 3. So
that would mean 8, 9, 10, 11.
That's 11.
2.
So
we're
2.
A 2.
We're a 2. So there you go. But I'm sure that means something too, right? But no, these numbers and the interplay of numbers is just fascinating. It really is. But the favorite of all this stuff, and it goes right into synchronicity, is the so-called angel numbers.
You're gonna love this one. I did the life path number of 2.
Oh yeah, what is it?
Our show's life path number is the life path number 2. It is a vibration of duality and division, the number of truth and learning. Those whose life path number 2 are more likely to seek harmony and peace and are symbolized by relationships, cooperation, and being considerate and thoughtful of others. People with a life path 2 are natural peacemakers, and they see all the viewpoints in any situation and handle difficult situations with grace.
That's totally.
And tend to be persuasive rather than forceful when trying to get their point across. People may often look to them as a mediator in any argument. In the paranormal community, that pretty much described what we do.
It pretty much does. That's what the ambassadors of paranormal does, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's hilarious.
That's scary. That's what that is. So synchronicity. But the angel number thing is just, to me, is just, it's crazy. And you've all done it. We were on the live last week, Brandon. We were talking to people and they were telling us about them, 1111, seeing like 3s and so forth and so on. And 1, 2, 3, 4, those are considered angel numbers, and they're just repetitive instances of numbers that people notice. And I kind of started playing around and noticing them. It was last year or so. I have a book that I just started jotting them down, and every time I noticed it, and I have also came to the conclusion that the more you notice it, the more you will notice it. And I think it may be related to your biological clock. You may know the passage of time is what I'm saying subconsciously. So if I looked at my watch at 11:11 a.m., I still might look at my watch at another instance throughout the day on the hour is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Well, do you remember that Jim Carrey movie 13?
Yeah.
I don't.
He went insane because he started noticing everything tied to the number
42.
13.
That's Mandela effect.
Seriously, I thought the Jim Carrey movie was 42. The answer to everything. Episode
number 2, Mandela effect, coming up soon.
Is that not it?
And that right there is a preview.
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Oh, that's Hitchhiker. That's right. 42 is the answer to everything.
You know why that is, right?
I used to.
So, in the old Unix coding system, the number 42, I believe it was an equal sign.
Yep.
Which means it could be anything.
It could be anything.
I get it.
Yep. Now I remember.
So back to our angel numbers. They're a sequence of numbers, usually in 3s and 4s. Okay. They can contain repetitions such as 1, 1, 1, 4, 4, 4, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Or 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, whatever. Anyway, they get your attention when you see them, just like at the beginning of this show. When we saw 10, 10, I was like, that's weird, obviously. what would be even weirder if I looked at the clock and it says 11:11? It doesn't. So the origin of the whole angel number thing, though, actually came from someone named Doreen Virtue. She published dozens of books in the 2000s on angel numbers, and she actually coined the term angel number. So although it's been around for, thousands of years, just paying attention to numbers and so forth, she kind of wrote the book on it and claimed it and gave it its modern interpretation, which now everybody knows, as what it is. And of course, just like the Pythagorean theory of numerology, it has its own meanings that are assigned to these numbers, right?
So yeah, these numbers that Doreen came up with, they had their own significance, each one of them. 0, for example, is associated with new opportunities. 1 is a powerful manifestation figure, or ones in repetition. So it's 111 or 1111. Normally these are all 3s and 4s in sequence. And the majority of that, in my assumption, this is just me thinking logically, is these have to do with times. You're going to see these numbers. These numbers are 1 through 12 or 1 through 9, but they're what you're going to see on a clock.
Oh yeah.
So 111, 222, 222. 2 suggests balance and trust. 3 is magnetic creativity. 4 is stabilization. 5 is major changes coming up. 6 is supportive, compassionate, and empathetic. 7 is what you see on the jackpot, baby. Yep. Means good luck, good fortune, and normally in the finance department. One of the most divine numbers in numerology is the 8, that suggests that there is these deep spiritual universal power is moving. Then straight 9s is the chapter may be coming to an end.
Now I can look at this, Joe. I mean, and I can see the symbology here. 0 associated with new opportunities. 0 means the infinite, right? I mean, yeah. That's what we're looking at. A 1, powerful manifestation figure, the beginning of a project. 2 suggests balance. There's 2, so therefore yin yang.
One on the side of the
So you can see how this stuff kind of got built, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. Now, do I think that it's real or not? That's the question. I don't necessarily know that it's real. I don't necessarily understand it enough to be even talking about it in that context. But I do know that a lot of people believe it to be real. And it's interesting that you mentioned the clock, because all of this actually can relate into sacred geometry. And sacred geometry goes right back into, the ancient thought, the like alchemy, the Kabbalah, all these ancient knowledges focused on such things as this. They just didn't call them mathematics, and but that's what it was. It was just a different way of recognizing it. I mean, they were actually looking for the patterns of God at some point.
Yeah.
That's what
palm reading is. Like the lines on your palms are tied to numbers.
Right. It's all numbers. So there's this underlying belief that frequencies, that's a number, whether it be sound or what have you. Look at the sound bowls. I mean, anyone who's ever been in a room where they have the sound bowls, we got to do that recently, and it was just an amazing experience just to sit there and listen to this. But the whole room vibrates, and you feel that. It's an amazing experience. And some of those temples in India, for example, they're made to ring at a certain vibration. That's all numbers. So it's almost like this all relates somehow to that. Like we're chasing this mysterious code. We're assigning all these terminologies to it and whatnot, but there does seem to be something there. Like, where did this knowledge come from? Is it just a coincidence?
To me, I think the whole universe is basically ran off one giant complex computer code. And if you pay attention to computer code, it's just a lot of repeating
digits.
Yeah, and statements repeatedly over and over again. If you pay close enough attention, you'll start noticing these things. And if you start really paying attention, you understand what they mean.
Now,
I think that's how everybody started getting all this.
Yeah, well, you're also bringing up the very real now, which was once science fiction, but the very real possibility of a holographic universe model. That's kind of what they're thinking, or a simulation universe, right, Joe? Now what it is?
Yep. Simulation theory.
Simulation universe theory. And in that it is just, basically you're in the matrix, for the lack of a better word. That's kind of what it's talking about there. And when you realize it, that's when you wake up from it. That's when you kind of start seeing the universe for what it is. And there are those who believe that is exactly what's happening, man.
And it is a very, very interesting to look at, especially when you start looking at how numerology has been used ever since the dawn of time.
People who used it and didn't even know that's what they were using. This is
right, because back then it was just language. They were using words to symbolize these numerical values.
Yeah.
And then we were given this whole structure, and with sacred geometry.
Sacred geometry led to the golden
geometry.
ratio.
I find it very fascinating.
Oh, it is amazing. Sacred geometry is amazing. I mean, geometry got me from day one. It was literally I understood geometry more than I understood just basic math.
Yep, same here.
That made sense. It just became natural. And
geometry is the only math I ever got an A in.
Same here.
Same.
Because I could see it in my head working out in real time.
And Carl Jung would tell you that that's the basis of the collective subconscious, that we recognize these symbols and the archetypes. That these mean something. We've forgotten what it means, but collectively we know what it means. Like something inside of us, somehow it knows, there's this genetic memory of it, but, who knows what it is. But fast forward, into the dark ages there, when Leonardo of Pisa, also known as Fibonacci, you've heard that name, right?
Yep.
Well, he discovered a sacred geometrical pattern in which we now know as the Fibonacci sequence. What's interesting about Fibonacci is that he actually went to Africa and he was studying from different, different schools of thoughts. And it was during that when he had learned some Arabic mathematics. And the Arabic mathematics had this weird kind of sequence kind of thing, and he borrowed from it. And lo and behold, this was 1202 is when he came up with it. And it's the Fibonacci pattern, which is an infinite pattern of numbers.
And if anybody's not familiar with Arabic numerals are what we use today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are Arabic numerals. And it's what is now the global number system. It was adopted and became the global number system. So the numbers that you're recognizing as numbers are the Arabic numbers.
But as early as 200 BC, the Indian mathematicians had known this stuff. This also goes, again, to what I have been saying. Someone gave them this. They didn't just come up with this stuff, man. I mean, this is advanced mathematics, and yet they knew it back then.
Gosh, I think it's Hinduism where one of their gods actually brought them mathematics. I'm trying to remember who it is.
There's a few of them. There's actually a few.
Like someone came down and gave them the cheat code list.
Yep, exactly. And Joe can speak to this, but in Judeo-Christian terms and terminology, the tree of knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. And you weren't supposed to look at the tree of knowledge, right? Isn't that how it was supposed to went?
You weren't supposed to eat from it. You could look.
You know what that means, but you know what that means.
They were able to tend to it and not eat.
Eat from, take from. You know what that means. And again, symbology. So if you really look at that, and all these people who think, that, I don't know. I really don't want to get into that big theological mess. But if you really think that way, literally, then we shouldn't have any technology, because literally the argument can be made that everything that we have, we shouldn't have.
Oh, another thing about the tree of knowledge too. The Bible doesn't actually say that it was Satan who was the serpent, but modern Christianity says it is.
That's right. Yeah.
It was just the serpent.
Satan, that means it was an angel who gave that knowledge to man, basically.
Read the Book of Enoch, and you can catch up on that episode when we decide to do it. But that'll be in the future, and it's going to be another really, it's a deep one. It's a deep one.
One of my favorite texts.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. It's fascinating. If no one's read it, I suggest you read it. And if you have read it, then you already understand this knowledge was given to humanity for good or evil. I think it's us who made the evil. That's just me. I think we're the ones who.
Well, even in the traditional Judeo-Christian thought process, when you look at the garden scenario and the taking of the apple, it wasn't that the knowledge was the sin. It wasn't that them taking the knowledge. It wasn't that them eating it it was the fact that they were told not to and they did it anyway.
Right.
And then once they ate it, the only thing that they became aware of was their own nakedness. Nothing else changed. Their mind was already set. They were already intelligent. They already knew the stuff that they knew. They didn't learn anything from taking the fruit or consuming from the tree of knowledge. The only thing that the tree of knowledge exposed them to was their own shortcoming. And then they became, because of the exposure and seeing of their own shortfalls, they hid from their creator.
Yeah, it's called shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's this innate thing that humans have, and it is shame. And if you can, I'm not going to get on this topic because we can just go forever, but honestly, I think that that's some of the biggest issues right now in the whole mental health, issue with
You're not wrong.
Everyone, is that we are too concerned with how other people think about us. We're so I'm afraid they'll judge me this way, or they'll be ashamed of me if I say this or do this. When I tell you that I don't care anymore, it's the best thing that you can do. Don't care anymore. Just don't. I mean, care about your fellow humans, for God's sake, but don't care about how they think about you, because you may read a book, or you may think differently than them, or you look different, or you feel different, or don't worry about that crap. That's not even important. And if you do that, you don't care anymore about that kind of stuff. You're going to like yourself a lot more. You're going to not only like yourself, you'll be more productive. You're going to be less afraid to do things. If someone told me as an adolescent, I'll say, if someone would have told me that I would be sitting on a podcast in front of millions of people, theoretically, in front of the world, because this thing goes everywhere now. If they would have said, oh, you'll be doing public speaking, you'll be out in front of, crowds of hundreds of people, telling people these crazy things, I would have been like, you're nuts. No, because there was this time when I was so terrified to get out in the public and actually talk to people. And it's just, no, I couldn't imagine it. But after you get to the point where you just don't care anymore, it doesn't matter. You're free. So, that's your word of advice from me tonight. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that.
The Fibonacci sequence
Fibonacci sequence.
We had this golden, it's called the golden ratio. Kind of got a little off track, but it was great. It was a good off track. That was a good rabbit trail.
Yeah.
It's what, when we think of the Fibonacci sequence, most people only think of the golden ratio because that's what they're told. And it is key in photography, art. It's key in the culinary world.
Yep.
When we're plating dishes,
everything.
It is the key in decorating and creation and making things. Is fractals. Finding balance.
It's fractals.
It's fractals.
It's the repeating, sequence, and it's amazing. I mean, it is literally amazing, and it's very important. Yeah. I mean, where'd it come from?
The reason you like, when you're looking on Instagram and flipping through, the reason you like photographs is because most of those photographs that are really, really good, the ones that we perceive as really good, are photographs that were taken in the golden ratio.
Yep. Let me show you how it works. Here.
There you go.
Over here. There we go. Now, is it that more in balance than where I was sitting? That's a little bit more in balance. Now you're staring more at my head now than you were.
Right.
Because that's what it does. It actually gets you to look where you need it to look. And artists know this, photographers know this, and like you said, culinary artists know this very well because it's all to do with plating. And you put the food on the plate and you make sure that the garnish is in the right place, and it's all to draw your eyes in a certain way. It's literally real magic is what it is.
Pretty much.
It really is. It's not like magic, but it is literally magic because we can direct you to look where we want you to look without you even being aware of it, just because something in your brain says, "Ooh, that looks better." So it's appealing to something on a very subconscious level.
And, that's one of the reasons why, if you look at my screen, the light that is cast in the golden ratio area.
Yeah.
It's dark on one side, there's light on the other, and it does force you to look at a certain thing.
Yep, it sure does.
And it's because our brain just automatically says, yeah, let's look here.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys know Tesla. You've seen this meme a million times. The whole if you knew the secret between 369. No one really knows what the man meant, to be honest with you, because it's Tesla. His mind didn't work.
He was a very cryptic individual.
He was, and his mind didn't work like everybody else's. If you read any of the books about him, like the really good books before the conspiracy theory stuff started, and hear how he really thought and how he could visualize things. Genius, absolute genius. The man could visualize concepts in 3 dimensions in front of his face without a computer, by just thinking about it and seeing it. So he could literally model these things in his head. And that's pretty impressive. But he always said, that there was this mystical quality of 369. And if you only knew the magnificence of 369, then you would have a key to the universe. So he believed that those numbers somehow were a part of a bigger sequence or a bigger mystery, that they unlocked it. Some thought it related to the Fibonacci sequence, but it really doesn't seem to, unless there's another, part of it that he got that no one else did. But man, I mean, there's always
the only explanation that I saw that remotely made sense when comparing the 369 and the Fibonacci sequence was it was a graph turned on its side. 3, 6, and 9. 9 being the full length of the chart, and you had 3, 6, and 9, and it created a nice smooth angle. And it was technically that fit in the golden ratio scale, but that was it. That's the only thing that worked, and it's the only way it does work is in landscape, turned in landscape, and it creates a nice diagonal path.
I don't know what it means, but
it really does. I don't think it has anything to do with the Fibonacci sequence. But
I don't either.
That's the closest.
But it could be a Fibonacci-like sequence, and we know that Tesla was very obsessed with vibrations, frequencies. Everything was built off of the frequencies of his machines. They worked on frequencies, so it may have something to do with that, the resonant frequency of some sort. We know that 3. 2 3s is 6. And then, there's the 9. So you add 3 to that, 6, you're going to get 9. And maybe that's another thing, maybe you add the 9 to the 6 again. I don't know. I'm just saying. But who knows? It was definitely something that he understood, and he never shared it with anyone. So anyone who says that
sometimes Tesla was just so smart that he just expected other people to immediately understand what he was saying without explaining it.
Yeah,
One of those types of people.
Well, he's very cryptic. I mean, like Joe said, he definitely hid stuff.
So one of the things that I used to do deep meditation a lot. And if you run, I would actually use a speaker and run while I was sleeping different frequencies.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah. And Ron, you might be interested in this one.
Yeah.
Because this was my explanation for Tesla. Okay. What's 162 hertz?
What's 162 hertz?
Have you ever done a meditation for deep single frequency meditation?
Not using any of the known hertz. No, I have not.
162 is 3 times 6 times 9.
Oh, I see what you're going for. So you think he may have been doing something like that? It's very possible.
That was what I personally came up with a while back. That was my correlation. I started looking at trying to understand what he meant by that. So I was doing different. It's numbers, right? So what do you do with numbers?
Yeah.
You Pythagorize them.
Yeah, it works for him,
right? And I just did it in simplest terms, like 3, 6, and 9. Then we're just going to multiply them all out. And 3 times 6 is 18. 18 times 9 is 162.
I wonder how you can get back down to 8 because that's the Earth's resonance.
Well, you got 162. So
yeah, you're never going to be able to think like Tesla, so just stop.
No, right.
But no, for real, that's the kind of and that's how they do it. That's how he did it. He just sit there and played with things like that. But as far as frequencies go, no, I've never really used a known. I didn't use a frequency generator or anything.
162 divided by 20 is 8.
Okay.
0.1. It's 8 though. Just a hair off.
It's interesting. But, I do believe it works. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely 100% know that frequencies work. I've done it. We know that this works. The only frequencies that we know for sure are, of course, the alpha, the beta, that actually stimulate the brain. I've done that stuff before, but never really sat around with a frequency generator and played with, these different things. Maybe Tesla was doing that. Or maybe his machines were doing that. We know that
machines
Tesla
could have been doing it all on their own.
Tesla coil vibrates.
The frequencies and sacred geometry go together.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you pump these hertz onto sand, we can visualize it.
Yes, and it's amazing. If no one's seen that, it actually does create the sacred geometry. If you just put, what did they do? They took the speaker and they set a plate over it with sand.
You can do plate, or you can do like cellophane, anything taut. Anything that's taut that will vibrate like a drum head.
Yep.
Will work.
And then you just, now you've got, back in the day, I didn't have a frequency generator. Now we have them. They're on your phone. You can download a frequency generator now. And you just set it to whatever, and you're going to see the pattern. And the patterns change, these incredible, basically it is sacred geometry. So again, there's this knowledge that was there that people knew. They just didn't know how they knew it. And they didn't know exactly what it all meant, but they knew it was special and they knew it was sacred. It's the same thing that metaphysics does today. The exact same thing. We know that these things vibrate to this, a crystal, for example, it vibrates to a certain frequency. Can you affect that? If you can affect that, then what does it do to you, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not a far jump, in my opinion, to try to make these things make sense. And if you see enough of these angel numbers, I'll tell you that, it does make you take notice. And one of the exercises was, if you see them, you're supposed to write down the number and what you were feeling or thinking at the time. And the next time you see it, you compare again. And if it kind of equals out, say I was in a bad mood. I saw 222 and I'm in a bad mood. Well, if I see 222 again in the future and I'm in a bad mood, it might just mean that I should avoid 222 altogether. So, if you pass a car and the license plate is 222, don't get in front of that car. That's what I'm saying. So these things can kind of, snowball into your life and act as a way to guide you in a way. And that's kind of what they think it means. But Brandon's, you said that not all numbers, people think that some numbers are bad, right? I mean, they're not all these great signs from the universe. They're sometimes bad ones, according to some practices.
Yeah, according to the ancient Chinese beliefs, there are certain numbers that are lucky. Of the basic numbers, it's number 2, 3, 6, 8, and 9, and the rest are considered to be unlucky.
2, 3, 6, 8, and 9, and the rest are unlucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, fortune cookies. Just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say that fortune cookies. I mean, your lucky numbers.
Well, guys, what are your takes on numerology, the various forms of numerology? Because there's so many. It's not just one.
Oh no, it's
pretty much every culture has their own version.
Yeah. So what are your all's independent takes at the end of the day?
I think that it is humanity's way of trying to understand something that is infinitely, probably very important, probably not exactly native. It could have been something that was given to them, a form of knowledge from a higher being of some sort, possibly. It could be imagination, but I don't think it's imagination. I just have to throw that in because I know that's, the skeptical Occam's razor thing that people are just imagining these things and trying to create these, synchronous events. But it's important to understand that Jung himself said that as far as synchronicity goes, there may be an underlying something. He never defined it, but there could be an underlying something there that says that these things they seem to be unrelated, but they may be related, you see.
Yeah.
And I think that's very possible. What's given you that? I think that's the bigger question. Are we talking about God? Are we talking about the universe? Are we just doing labels again? Is that what it comes down to? But it does seem that there could be, this could be a almost like Brandon said, a code. You're seeing behind the code. We don't know the person who wrote the code. We just know someone wrote the code at some point, and that we are encountering the code, so to speak, if that makes sense to you. And trying to make sense of it.
Astrophysicists, especially lately, they all talk about how the universe is made with mathematics. Like you can see math everywhere throughout the universe.
Yep. Einstein believed that too.
That is the code of the universe, mathematics.
Yep. And it's everywhere.
Yep.
I'm terrible with math, so I'll never solve it, is what I'm saying.
So, Brandon, what's your take?
I think there is something there because a lot of the cultures take significance in a lot of similar numbers, like the Old Testament in particular. They love the number 3, 7, 9, 12, and so on. They would repeat those numbers over and over again, like a code throughout the Bible. So I think there's something there. 3
is very sacred amongst so many, cultures. Why? So yeah, man. I mean, I think it's legit. Now, is Pythagorean numerology legit? Can you really tell someone's, I guess, personality from numbers of when they're born? Well, I used to be a skeptic when it came to astrology and all that, right? But the more I have looked at it, the more I have seen, like some of that stuff is spot on. It's not in one of those easy reads to where it's like, oh, well, yeah, you can make that sound like anything. Not really. I mean, some of these are pretty spot on. Yeah. So could I see numerology being like that? I probably could. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, there's always been people trying to read the stars to predict things or get insight. That goes all the way back to ancient Sumeria.
Exactly.
Probably even older than that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So what's your take, Joseph?
Well, clearly there's something going on. As throughout my studies and research into a lot of this stuff, like you both have mentioned, every civilization, every culture on the planet to date has had some sort of numerology code. They've attributed various traits and meanings behind different numbers, and they always have. There's anybody who looks into any of the older texts, like the Old Testament, the ancient Hebrew texts, or you're looking into the Babylonian texts that you'll find, or you're looking into ancient Egyptian texts, or looking into ancient Chinese texts, or Mongolian texts, Greek, all of it, you're going to find symbology attributed to numbers. And it does seem to be some sort of universal thing. And what's even more uncanny, it's 1111. What's even more uncanny is that oftentimes these numbers correlate universally. Specifically 3s and 7s, 12s, 40s, across the board, all mean positive and good things. They might have subtle differences from culture to culture, but they're all pretty positive in that respect. So knowing that, there's something there. What it is, I'm going to be right there with Carl Jung. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something going on. There's something to it.
I remember after 9/11 happened, it seemed like every day I'd look at a clock and it would be 9/11.
Oh,
at
that's
least
wild.
once a day. Sometimes twice I would see that. But it would just happen forever after that. I'd be like, I'm seeing 9/11 again.
Well, I didn't bring this up, but I'll do it in closing because, of course, there are paranormal events that also have this underlying feature of numerology involved in them.
Usually 333s.
Yeah. Sometimes there's, the people who wake up at 333, 222, they wake up on those so-called angel numbers. And some of those are people who are experiencing bedroom visitations, be it interpreted as ghosts or contact. Either way, they've been reported. So there's something there, and I think that it may have really deep, significant meanings. I think the philosophers were right. I think that they were onto something. They were trying to explain this. That's why you see, the Pythagorean numerology and the stuff that he was. Come on, the dude was like, "Hey, I'm going to go start my own school to teach people." I mean, these are the same kind of people who believe that they have this incredible knowledge that they can change the world. Well, he did. So why is it so different than he did it than anyone else could, who's listening to these music of the spheres or the numbers, mathematics, as Tesla said, it's all, if you understood. I mean, maybe some of these people did understand. That's why we're where we're at, right? Because someone understood something.
Well, guys, anybody who's out there listening right now, if you've got your own special numbers that you've got that constantly show up, or if you have your own ideas about numerology, feel free to send those into wildandweirdwv@gmail.com or jump in on the live, and we can talk about it some next week. Never know. See you guys on Thursday. And remember, if you want to check out and hang out with us, it is going to be 8 p.m. on Thursdays. You'll definitely be able to catch Ron and Brandon. Hopefully I can make it in there from time to time more often. But we're working on that. I'm working on it. Hopefully I can get something ironed out soon. Then, if you want to continue to support the show and keep it free for eons and eons to come, you can head over to wildandweirdwv.com, hit our shop tab. You'll be able to go and take a look at the stuff that we have to offer, or you can catch us live at one of the shows that we're going to be attending. and speaking at. So remember, you guys just keep on doing what you're doing. We would love and appreciate every one of you guys. You're pushing it more and more and more, and we can't thank you enough.
And stop caring.
Yeah. Just don't give a rip.
Yep. Just care about everyone else, but don't care about anything else.
Exactly. Don't worry about what people think about you. Just go out there and do the thing. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up. Is there anything else we're missing?
I think that's about it. Next week's show is going to be another one of those weird ones, though, right?
Oh, yes. You definitely want to catch next week's show. We've had 3 back-to-back wild shows, and we've got a special guest who's going to be making an appearance on next week's episode, and we're going to save that one for next week.
Yep.
So remember, the last thing you want to experience is a floating head Joe coming into your room at 3:33 in the morning. So take some extra melatonin tonight. Get some rest.